Because I'm a nice guy, a realistic guy, I waited a whole extra week before making this video, because I wanted to see how everything played out. Well, as of just a few hours ago, it was reported that Abigail is sitting at right around 28.5 million worldwide at the box office. So once again, it's time for us to dig a little deeper and figure out who or what is to blame for this movie underperforming. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So as I sit here looking over the numbers, getting ready to call Abigail a flop, we have publications like Screen Rant trying to turn this situation into a positive, celebrating the fact that Abigail outperformed two other underperforming vampire movies from Universal, that being The Last Voyage of the Demeter and Renfield.
Whoop-de-doo! What does it all mean, Basil?
Now, anyone with any level of standards understands that that's not really something to celebrate. But when you are grasping for any positivity you can possibly find about a situation, I guess you're going to take whatever you can get, no matter how pathetic it might sound. This same article talks about how the budget for Abigail was around 28 million, which, if accurate, would mean that this movie has already turned a slight profit. What's weird to me is that I heard very different estimates from other sources. Sources that do not have a vested interest in how this movie is perceived. Like YouTuber Wolfman's Got Nards, who also reported the $28 million budget, but also took note of the approximate $30 million marketing costs, which are not included in the budget. He also pointed out that the studios take only around 50% of the box office haul, which means that in reality, Abigail would need 116 million in fact to break even, a figure that the film is nowhere near reaching. So the question, as always, is who or what is to blame? Regardless of which figures you choose to believe are accurate, the bottom line is this movie did not do enough to entice general audiences. Box office numbers are never a good indication of the quality of a movie. They are, however, a good indication of the interest in said movie.
That makes sense.
Now, I've heard people blame the trailer for this movie for revealing too much about the plot, and thus making audiences disinterested in watching it. I don't know that I really buy into that concept, considering most modern trailers have a tendency to show too much. I will say that I thought the trailer made the film look like just another generic vampire movie. And in my opinion, that's exactly what it ended up being. So we can all agree to an extent that the marketing for this film really didn't do it any favors in some aspects. But there's another element to this that needs to be addressed because it's an ongoing problem in modern entertainment and something that I've talked about on this channel extensively. And that's the repeated exposing of fake social media hype.
And here we go.
I came across this post in response to a report about Abigail's box office numbers. And this person rather naively said, "This is wild because it seems like my entire timeline has seen this movie." Who's going to tell him? If you need any more proof that some people live in their own little fictional social media worlds, then this is your proof. And I say again that social media hype does not translate to box office success. Take this into consideration. If you manage to cultivate a modest following of like-minded people on any social media platform, of course you will eventually be convinced that everyone is into the same things you are because that's all you're seeing. But in reality, your 200 followers or so does not represent the majority.
It's not true. That's impossible.
I always go back to the Avatar 2 example when talking about this, because I think it's relevant. I saw so many people on social media prior to Avatar 2's release saying that Avatar doesn't hold any cultural significance anymore, and that they didn't see anyone talking about this film, and that meant that it was going to flop. Little did they know, it's because they are quite literally living inside of an echo chamber. Because in real life, in the real world, people once again went out in droves to support Avatar 2, just like they did the first film. And it ended up being one of the biggest films of all time. When I hear some people say that certain individuals need to step outside once in a while and touch grass, these are the people that I think they're talking about. The people who think that everything revolves around their insignificant social media circles. And to me, that's exactly what happened to Abigail as well. You have this certain group of mostly toxic people that we've covered extensively who worship the ground that a certain actress walks on.
Why are you the way that you are?
And they attack anyone who doesn't. The problem with these people is that they are so caught up in their cause and defending Melissa Barrera's honor that they seemingly forgot to actually go out and support the movie. When we say that one-sided ideology takes precedence over everything when it comes to these people, this is the type of thing we're talking about. They want to have the appearance of being fans of an actress or a movie that that actress is in. But when it comes time to actually put their money where their mouth is, they're too caught up in being fake online activists. And now they have to cope because the world doesn't see Abigail in the same way that they do. Because the world doesn't see Melissa Barrera in the same way that they do. Now when I say that, to be clear, and I have to reiterate this, it doesn't mean that I hate Melissa Barrera. In reality, I don't have feelings for her one way or another.
You sit on a throne of lies.
But there are many people who are convinced that she's a bigger star than she actually is. And it's all based around them supporting her being their entire online identity. For months, all that I heard was that Scream 6 was a success because of Melissa Barrera and radio silence. Two key components that were both involved with Abigail, so by their logic, Abigail should have been a smash hit. But now we know the truth, and all the simps are coming crashing back down to earth. The truth is, Scream 6 succeeded because Scream was in the title. Or maybe we can now have the conversation that Jenna Ortega was the actual star of those movies, because she was the biggest part of the Scream 6 equation that wasn't involved with Abigail. I take no pleasure in pointing all of this out, really. I honestly don't care. But when it comes right down to it, a lot of these online trolls needed a reality check, and now they have one.
Get what you deserve!
One other thing that I'd like to point out, and I'll give a personal example just so you know I'm not trying to be a hypocrite here. I highly enjoyed a little horror film called The First Omen just a few weeks ago. I praised it in my review. I spread the word about it as much as one person can possibly do. And guess what? That film underperformed as well. Do you see me throwing temper tantrums on social media like a child? Do you see me desperately trying to make excuses for that movie? No. For one, because I didn't make liking that movie my whole identity. And two, I've been a fan of movies for long enough to understand that these things happen from time to time. Sometimes movies don't hit like they are supposed to or like you think they will. Most of the time, people don't see a particular movie in the same way that you do. And you know what? That's okay. Life goes on. Trust me, it won't be the last time it happens.
It's true.
At some point, people became too personally attached to certain movies and to certain stars, and it's made them delusional and incapable of seeing things from other perspectives. We need to get back to a point where people understand that movie opinions aren't meant to be taken that seriously. Celebrities aren't meant to be worshipped. Their job is to entertain us and nothing more. Bottom line, Abigail failed because period point blank, not enough people were given a reason to give a shit about it. And the people who claimed to give a shit about it proved what they actually are. All talk and no action.
Y'all be cool. Right on.